Hello, my name is Cody Rex, and thank you for joining me for my presentation on the organizational culture and behavior profile of ANGI Inc. This presentation analyzes organizational structure, leadership, group behavior, and motivation and culture using insights from a 1-hour interview with Dylan Reed, Enterprise Business Solutions Manager, conducted on October 8, 2025. The analysis applies course concepts from our course textbook, Scantura's Foundation of Organizational Behavior, and established theories in leadership, motivation, and organizational culture. Before we begin, here is the agenda for today's presentation. I'll start by outlining the purpose and objectives of this project, why it was assigned, and what we're aiming to learn by connecting theory with practice. Next, I'll describe the data collection and analysis process, explaining how the interview with Dylan Reed was conducted and how I applied course concepts from the textbook to interpret that information. After that, I'll give a brief company background on ANGI, including what the business does, who it serves, and how its structure supports customer experience. Then we'll move into the main sections of the analysis. First, I'll discuss organizational structure and leadership, looking at how management style, decision making, and span of control function in ANGI. From there, we'll examine group dynamics, authority, and decision making, focusing on how collaboration, power, and communication flow across teams. Next, I'll cover motivation, job design, and performance, connecting employee autonomy and evaluation systems to motivation theories we studied this class. After that, we'll explore organizational culture, diversity, and socialization, where I'll share what Dylan said about ANGI's respectful and inclusive culture and how new employees are integrated into it. Finally, I'll end with a brief conclusion and key takeaways, summarizing how ANGI's structure and culture align with organizational behavior principles and what lessons can be drawn from this case. The purpose of this presentation is to apply organizational behavior concepts and data gathering from the field to a real-world company. Throughout this course, we explored structure, power, decision-making, emotions, motivation, and culture. ANGI serves as an excellent case. As Dylan described, the company strives to be both data-driven and customer-driven. The interview allows us to link these goals to how teams are organized, how leaders decide, and how employees carry out their work each and every day. Looking at the data gathering method, I conducted a one-on-one interview with Dylan Reed, who manages the Enterprise Business Solutions team. His group is responsible for maintaining and optimizing ANGI's communication and business systems, including Google Workspace, Zoom, Slack, Microsoft Tools, and several internal financial systems that support collaboration across the organization. The team works closely with both technical and business units to ensure these platforms align with company goals and user needs. I also drew on my personal workspace observations as well. For analysis, I used Scandura's structure and leadership frameworks, French's and Raven's basis of power, McGregor's theory Y, Deci and Ryan self-determination, Hackman and Oldham's job characteristics model, and Vroom's expectancy theory. Throughout this presentation, I'll return to Dylan's words so that theory stays connected to practice. Exploring the company background, as noted earlier, ANGI is a technology company that connects homeowners with local service professionals for home improvement, maintenance, and repair projects. It operates major platforms like ANGI.com, HomeAdvisor, and Handy, managing millions of customer pro interactions annually. The company's mission centers on improving customer experience through trust, transparency, and efficient data-driven services. Turning now to the organizational structure overview, according to Dylan, ANGI historically operated under a divisional structure. However, recent changes to the organization introduced zones of control that bring people from multiple functions together around shared outcomes such as customer experience. He described this hybrid as focused on customer experience, forming cores or zones that include every team needed to achieve goals. This structure mirrors a matrix. functional expertise combined with cross-functional teams, which is ideal for a digital marketplace where engineering, data, and customer operations must align to improve the same user's journey. Turning our attention to the span of control and management approach, Dillon said that the typical span of control is 5 direct reports. He noted that most management information he has encountered and observed recommends a range of 5 to 7 to maintain close connection without overextension. This is directly practiced at ANGI. He also highlighted a collaborative, data-driven management style. Executives often emphasize opinions versus data, and decisions rely on user experience metrics rather than intuition. This reflects McGregor's theory Y, which assumes that employees are naturally motivated, responsible, and capable of directing their own work when given the right conditions. Dillon emphasized that managers at ANGI avoid micromanaging and instead focus on empowering teams through data, clear goals, and autonomy. This mindset treats employees as self-motivated professionals rather than needing to constantly have oversight over them, which reinforces trust and engagement. It also connects to the broader culture of accountability, where freedom is earned and maintained through results. Moving on to strengths and limitations of the current structure, the new zones bring multiple teams together around shared problems instead of isolated work. Before a request for comment process was implemented, one department could change something that disrupted another. Dillon said that the new model reduces these errors and overlaps. However, he also mentioned that involving more people can slow decisions, what he called hidden red tape. Yet, that review process helps prevent repeated mistakes, trading some speed for better risk control. Discussing recommended structural changes, if Dillon could redesign anything in the organization, he'd place HR and recruiting inside the zones that they support. He proposed zone-specific recruiters who understand technical roles and team context. For instance, he described cases where recruiters rejected candidates for lacking 5 years of experience in a tool that existed for only 3. His argument fits socio-technical systems theory. Aligning people's systems with technical systems produces better outcomes. Managers shouldn't screen 40 applicants. Recruiters closer to the work can identify qualified talent faster and more accurately. I agree with Dillon's perspective and have seen similar issues firsthand. When recruiting teams are disconnected from technical departments, hiring delays and mismatched candidates become far more common. Closer alignment would make the process both faster and more accurate. Continuing on to leadership, communication, and decision making, Dillon described 2 tracks for decisions. Strategic direction flows from executive leadership, the CEO, CTO, and VP level, through directors to managers and then teams. Operational choices, such as architecture changes, use the request for comment and change advisory board processes, where stakeholders review and comment before approval. He explained that while leadership holds final authority, they actively listen to trusted managers. Communication begins with managers so their teams aren't surprised later by company-wide announcements. Information moves through Slack, meetings, and all-hands emails, a method he describes as a soft rollout approach. That gives people time to adjust. Customers are notified of changes via the website, mobile app, and often via email. Shifting our attention to decision-making and alignment with structure, the RFC method fits the hybrid structure by ensuring that cross-functional work receives cross-functional review. Dillon said that alignment takes time, but leads to stronger results. This approach reflects bounded rationality theory. When information and time are limited, widening participation improves quality even if it slows the pace. On the topic of group behaviors and authority, when discussing authority, Dillon drew a distinction between several different levels. At the executive tier, power is very formal and mainly board-driven. Below that, expert power dominates. People advance through performance and credibility and not politics. He acknowledged that politics can appear where leadership gaps exist, but emphasized that broader culture rewards ethics and merit. Influence depends on results rather than title, which supports a meritocratic environment. Shifting to conflict resolution and negotiation, Dillon separated personal conflict from business disagreement. If conflict is interpersonal, HR or upper management mediates. If it's operational, managers present their reasoning in a joint meeting to reach consensus. He recalled one negotiation where finance wanted to transfer an important financial systems employee. Leadership convened the managers, CFO, and senior tech leaders in one meeting to settle the issue, favoring collaboration over competition. Most disagreements, he said, are solved in conversation and not conflict. Regarding individual motivation, motivation at ANGI is goal-oriented and self-directed. The company doesn't gamify work, as he put it. Employees receive goals, manage their time, and are evaluated on outcomes. Dillon gave a practical example. If someone finishes their work early, leaving for the day is fine. If the work isn't complete, the manager asks questions to understand what's preventing progress and how to address it. This reflects self-determination theory, where autonomy and competence fuel engagement, and again relates back to Theory Y, emphasizing trust supported by accountability. Continuing forward to performance, evaluation, and job design, performance reviews occur twice a year, with bonuses tied to measurable goals. This follows expectancy theory. Efforts lead to performance, and performance leads to valued rewards. Dillon said that teams can directly see their impact on customer experience through metrics and UX testing, providing clear task identity and feedback as outlined in Hackman and Oldham's model. Employees know how their work affects stakeholders and customers, which reinforces motivation and quality. Further identifying rewards in individual behavior, Dillon emphasized rewarding initiative and ownership. He promotes those who constantly exceed based on expectations and said he avoids promoting anyone who must be pushed to perform. He referenced the 80-20 pattern, noting that a smaller group often completes most of the work. His philosophy is to recognize top contributors without diluting rewards for routine performance. That approach aligns with reinforcement theory. Desired behaviors are strengthened through meaningful recognition. Moving on to organizational culture and diversity, Dillon summed up the culture in 2 words: respectful and trusting. He contrasted ANGI's approach with a previous employer's rigid attendance monitoring, saying that ANGI treats employees as adults capable of managing their own time. When we discussed diversity, Dillon said that all candidates receive equal consideration and that hiring decisions are based on competence and organizational needs. He explained that ANGI's recruiting process promotes fairness. Every qualified applicant is evaluated on ability rather than background or demographic characteristics. This reflects a broader commitment to employment diversity, where inclusion extends across race, gender, age, and professional experience. From what I've observed, this commitment is visible in a variety of perspectives represented across teams, including leadership. ANGI's open culture and hybrid structure naturally bring together employees from different backgrounds, encouraging innovation and shared problem solving. He also mentioned that while most leaders are approachable, executive accessibility could improve to reduce hesitation when employees want to share new ideas. I agree with this recommendation. Improving senior accessibility would further reinforce inclusion by showing that every employee's perspective is valued. Lastly, socialization and onboarding. Dillon was very candid about ANGI's onboarding process. In the development organization, new hires have access to shared documentation and technical resources that outline key tools, systems, and team practices. In other areas, onboarding relies more on peer learning and tribal knowledge. Dillon believes that creating consistent documentation and orientation materials would shorten the ramp-up time and promote alignment across teams. From an organizational behavior perspective, effective onboarding strengthens socialization by introducing company values early, reinforcing cultural norms of trust and collaboration, and helping new employees feel part of the broader mission. In conclusion, Dylan's insights show how Angie's culture of trust and collaboration connects with its hybrid structure to support results. Across leadership, motivation, and communication, the company demonstrates that empowering teams and valuing diverse perspectives leads to stronger decision making and continued innovation. Angie's emphasis on accountability and open communication supports both performance and employee engagement. Together, ANGI's structure and culture create a practical model for how trust, accountability, and teamwork can drive lasting success. Thank you and have a great day.